What a bullet! Scott Arfield! He's been threatening that recently, and all the Burnley players run to the Darwin end.
Burnley win the next ball. It's Rory now. On the outside, decent.
Barnes! He got it! Ashley Barnes with it! What a cross from Rory! And there was Ashley Barnes! And Burnley leading the derby.
Knocks it quickly, finds Benson in space at the byline. Can Burnley get a goal here? Back for Brownell, saved by the keeper.
Burnley won it to the end. That is magnificent. They deserve that.
Only by Paul Patella, off for a hat-trick.
He's got it. Hat-trick for Nathan Teller. Oh, he's on fire at the minute. 3-0 Burnley. It's Nathan Teller's day.
And Burnley are 3 up here. Fantastic derby. Here's Benson, can he go on the outside? Comes inside, comes have a shot.
Oh, the goal. Manuel Benson once more. That is top class. Burnley have done it. Fantastic. Clarence deserve the championship title. They've been the best side throughout the campaign. Burnley have won the second tier. What a fantastic achievement. The players have been magnificent.
Yes, hello everybody and welcome along to the latest edition of the Turfcast podcast pre-game show with me, Joe Redmond, ahead of this weekend's game against Nottingham Forest at Turf Moor, Sunday, 4 o'clock. Obviously, it's on Sunday, all the games at the same time to avoid any match fixing stuff. Not that it matters down at the bottom for us anymore, because obviously we all was confirmed last week. Hope everyone's feeling well now. I think we've all accepted it since October, haven't we, to be fair? So no real issues this end. Obviously, unfortunately, it's the last pre-game show of the season, so we'll hope to make it a good one for you. But as you can see, I'm joined by Jamie from the 1865 Nottingham Forest pod. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, all good, thank you. It's a bit rainy today, so it's a bit of a miserable one, but yeah, I'm feeling good.
Happy days, mate. Happy days. You say you're feeling good. Obviously, you'll be feeling quite smug, I think, at the minute. It's looking like you're going to stay in the Premier. Well, it's not looking like you will stay in the Premier League because, number one, we're not going to beat you 6-0. And number two, Luton aren't going to win 6-0. I'm not sure exactly what the permutations are that's needed. Obviously, I've not really looked into it. But, yeah, I think it's safe to say you're in the Premier League next season. How are you feeling about that, mate?
To be honest, I'm just relieved because I invest a lot of emotional attachment in football. So for me, staying in the Premier League is almost like, I don't know, having your contract at your job renewed for another year, or I don't know, just any kind of, quite important thing that you can relate to in life. For me, this just will give me a lot of freedom to have good times in the summer and not have to worry about football for another few months. So, yeah, I'm feeling good. I'll be honest. I'm not just saying this because I'm on the podcast. I did predict Burnley to stay up this season. I thought the recruitment and everything was good, so I'm a bit gutted they went down. But on the selfish side of it, it's Forest have stayed up, and I've just got to be happy about that.
Yeah, I'm not sure any Burnley fan watching this will begrudge you with that. We could all obviously relate to that. If it was that the shoe was on the other foot, we'd be saying exactly the same thing. But before we get properly started, just to remind you all, this episode of the pre-game show is sponsored by Green King Sport, where football is more than a game. Make sure you make Green King your go-to destination for the season's final weekend. Why? For one, you can wash every single televised Burnley game down with delicious food and refreshing beverages. And with over 900 sports clubs dotted around the UK, the chances are you're within walking distance of your local Green King pub. And let's be honest, watching football is way better with friends and family. So get the squad together for every televised Premier League fixture in an atmosphere worth sharing. That includes huge title showdowns, the race for European qualification, and nail-biting relegation six-pointers. Now, there's obviously no nail-biting relegation six-pointers this weekend, but obviously the title does still need to be wrapped up, and I think there's a bit of jeopardy with the Europa League places as well. I looked at it the other day, and somehow Chelsea are currently occupying it. I don't know how that's happened. So yeah, and don't forget to download the Green King Sport app and enjoy exclusive competitions and discounts whenever there's a game on. That could be the llast time I read out the Green King ad read, everybody. So RRP if it is. Fingers crossed they're back for next season. But we shall see. Analytics have been sent. So yeah, I'll keep you all updated as and when I know more. Right then, Jamie, obviously we mentioned you've stayed up barring a 12-goal swing on the final day. Are there still some fans that are a little bit worried, though? I mean, naturally, I think in every fan base, I think there's always going to be people that say, oh, you never know, but I think they're just doing it just to be like different, you know what I mean? I presume there's been a few Forest fans maybe saying it on social, like, oh, I'm not confident just yet.
I mean, I'm not. I feel that way, and I'm not doing it to be different. I can't celebrate until there is literally, just a complete announcement that these are the teams for next season and Forest's name is on it. That I just can't do it because we had it with Stoke 2019. I think it was under Sabri Lamucci, like 6-goal swing or whatever, and we managed to mess that up and we didn't get promoted. Well, we didn't get into the promotion. The playoffs. So I don't think we're going to get promoted anyway, but it's still the point stands. It's like that 6-goal swing that we had then.
Yeah,
it's double it now, and I know that it's very hard to mess this up, and there's probably a 99.9% chance you don't, but until it's confirmed, I just can't sit still. So I'm still a little bit nervous going into Sunday, even though I don't really think I need to be, but it's just something that's kind of now been instilled in us from that moment.
Yeah, maybe, mate. You've done well there in sort of like rounding it off and telling us why you feel like that, because obviously something similar, obviously 50% less, but something similar has happened before. So that's where your anxiety comes from. But let's be fair, mate. It should be a party atmosphere in that away end on I think it's Saturday, then on Sunday. I'm a little bit frustrated. Not frustrated because I wanted to send Forest down, nothing like that. But when it was looking like we'd be down, but you might still be fighting on the final day, I remember thinking, oh, well, at least there's something to play for. At least we can make Forest sweat or whatever. And there's a little bit of jeopardy on that game. I'm a little bit disappointed there isn't, but obviously I'm sure you'll be happy that it is the scenario. But it would be interesting, say, if we get an early couple of goals. It'd be the first time this season. Well, no, Sheffield United, but that's different. They don't really count. If we get a couple of early goals and say Luton go 1-0 up within like the third or fourth minute, do you think a few of you will be sweating then and thinking, here we go again?
I'm sure that there'll naturally be people that would do that. I mean, I think that if we played like how we did against Chelsea, I can't really see us conceding 2 early goals. But at the same time, it's always the later in the game bits that I worry about. So, yeah, I mean, I'll always be nervous no matter what. We could be 1-0 up until 90th minute. I'm thinking, God, 5 more minutes, a minute a goal. You know what I mean? Just anything can happen. So, but of course, I know what the likelihoods are, but it still doesn't sit right with me.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Well, you can look forward to Premier League football next season. I think I will bet my house on it, mate, that you'll be playing in the Premier League next year, barring any more points deductions that I'm unaware of. Just to get that out there in case you suddenly get another point taken off you, and then there you go, my house is gone. But no, I think you'll be fine next year. But talk to me about your season then, because yes, you've stayed up, you've achieved the goal that has probably been the goal for like the last 6 months. But at the start of the season, you're probably expecting a better season than this and maybe kicking on from last season. Are you disappointed with the way that the season's gone? Just relieved that you've stayed up? What are your thoughts on your season, mate?
Yeah, I'm really disappointed with the season, to be honest. I mean, it's, I don't think that that anyone's going to come out and say it was a horrendous season because we're still in the league, but we've achieved less points than we did last season with a team that on paper is by far better. I know that a change of coach does make a difference, but I still think with the players that we've got, the small mistakes have really, really hurt us. And this is what it's all about. It's about accumulation. And unfortunately for Forest, it has been an accumulation of small errors on set pieces. I think it's actually us and you guys that are the worst for set pieces this season.
Makes sense.
And we're conceding like 23, 24 goals on set pieces, like half of your total goals throughout the season. It's embarrassing, to be honest. So, the recruitment strategy needs to be better. I think that there needs to be less noise around the club. We should aim to have a club that just kind of goes into the background a bit, like your Brightons, like even your Brentfords in a way. You just don't hear much about them, or their ownership or anything like that. It's just very quiet, and you kind of go into the background, do your business, and stay up for another season. So we need to just calm down a little bit with the noise and just focus on what we do on the pitch, because at the end of the day, staying up the second season is one of the most difficult things you can do. But we've not really covered ourselves in much glory this season, to be honest.
Yep, fair enough. You mentioned there, obviously, manager now is Nuno, sacked Cooper earlier in the season. Do you think ultimately that's what's kept you up, or do you think you'd have stayed up even if you kept hold of Cooper?
It's tough to say, really. It's tough to say. I think that there was always enough quality on the pitch to have stayed up, before we did. But again, I think that the players had made many mistakes that kind of let both coaches down. But I think that tactically speaking, Nuno's a better manager in that respect than Steve Cooper. He has got a lot more experience, and that's not to say anything bad about Steve Cooper because he's a legend in my eyes. That I would love to come back to Forest at some point. But at the end of the day, it was the right move. Nuno's a bit more of a tactician, got a bit more about him. Players have still made mistakes, but also we've still picked up a few points along the way. So it needs to improve on his part as well. I will just say he's not perfect, but I do think that sacking Cooper and bringing in Nuno in the end was the right idea. But I think the players need to own up and take some as well.
Where are Forest going forward with the manager? Do you think Nuno's here to stay? I can't really see him getting sacked. It'd be a silly thing to sack him at this stage now. After you've achieved what he was brought in for, then hopefully he'll be looking to kick on and take you up the league table, surely.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, look, at the end of the day, this is Nuno's worst finish in any division. In Portugal, here, Saudi. He's never had a season this bad. So obviously it's not been great for him, and the environment's not been fantastic. And there's been a lot of outside goings on, like with the points deduction, as you mentioned, and obviously all the stuff with refereeing, which has been horrendous. And we're not the only people that have suffered from that. But I think that if you do sack a manager, there's got to be a clear strategy in place for another one. So yeah. I wouldn't think that sacking Nuno is even remotely a sensible idea. And there's some Forest fans that don't think he's a good enough manager, and that's fair enough. But I like the continuity. I like the stability. And to be honest, if you sack another manager and then get someone in the summer, okay, they've got pre-season, but I just think we don't want to be one of those clubs that goes through sacking managers every season, because you'll end up like Watford. And this is in no disrespect to them, but you will go down that dark alleyway where you end up like Watford, and you end up somewhere you don't want to be and you can't get out of it. So I'm just saying, stick with Nuno, build a team around him and what he wants from his philosophy, and go from there.
Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned Watford there, because there's been a bit of a debate recently this season about sacking Company. And one of the lads who does a full-time show with me, obviously a Burnley fan, uses Watford as an example. Said, look, we don't just want to keep sacking managers all the time, because if we sack Company now, the new guy might come in, not do very well, and then we've just wasted it, whereas we already know Company can do it at this level. So it's interesting you use that one. Just going back to an answer you said earlier about next season, excuse me, for those listening on the podcast, I've got a bit of a phlegmy chest, so I do apologise. But you mentioned earlier, like, you just want to concentrate on the football on the pitch. You want Forest to concentrate, cancel out all the noise. Do you not think you've kind of like made a rod for your own back with that sort of stuff? Like, because you've got like an eccentric owner who's quite out there, and then I think the way that the club have acted on social media. Now, don't get me wrong, I think the stuff that you have complained about on social media is correct to complain about. But I think I said at the time, like, the way that you did it, I felt was wrong. Do you not think you've kind of made a rod for your own back with all this noise? Because I think now there's always got to be that thought process in people's minds that Forest have an eccentric owner can sometimes act in eccentric ways. I don't know if you think that's fair.
There's no smoke without fire, I think, with these things. And, again, I at the time, I didn't agree with the wording or the way it was wrote. But in the end, it was frustration. We'd had enough, as a football club. And, at the end of the day, that's what they chose to do. So, yeah, the noise created was because of things that we did as well. But again, that was this season. I'm thinking next season, you kind of got to think, right, from a PR perspective, we've learned from what's happened now. There's other routes and other avenues we can take. We don't need to announce everything. Just keep some things under wraps. And just, I just think it all needs to just calm down a little bit. And we don't have to be like Brighton. We don't have to be like Brentford, as I say. We don't have to be, like that in that respect. We can still be a bit noisy, but that's got to, be kind of balanced off by playing well on the pitch and kind of balancing it out in a way. So, but yeah, as you say, we didn't really do ourselves any favors at times, but that's something we can improve on, for next year.
Yeah, definitely live and learn. Hopefully you guys do. Can I ask you as well about, obviously you mentioned next season and stuff, and the ambitions of it now to kick on next season. What's the situation with you surrounding FFP? Because obviously you had the points deduction this year. Are you now have a clean slate FFP next year? Like, what's the scenario of you? Will you be able to spend big in the summer again, or are you going to have to be a little bit, cut your cloth accordingly, as they say?
I think there'd still have to be a player sale in June before the deadline for the current rules. I'm pretty sure, but and that might be 15 to 20 million pound, which I think they're hoping will be Aurel Mangala, who's on loan at Lyon. So if he gets sold, then I suppose that kind of covers it, really. And there might be need for another one, but it's the new squad cost ratio rules that are coming out, so I think it's revenue dependent. I'm a bit baffled personally, but this is my issue with the governing body of football. If the fans don't know the rules, if the fans don't know what's going on, then they're disconnected from the game, and that means that they're basically saying you don't even know the rules, so how can you question us? And I just don't think it's fair. So not fair from a perspective of we broke the rules 100% and we paid for it, fair enough. But fans should know what the rules are. They should have more transparency within the governing body for what's happening. And it shouldn't just be lawyers, meetings, and don't worry, we'll leak it to the media kind of stuff. So, who knows? Basically, I just hope we've got enough to spend something at least.
Yeah, it's interesting as well, because I think the Everton fan that was on it, and the City fan as well, obviously, because they've got the 115 charges hanging over them, said similar things. Said it's all just like shrouded in mystery. They want a bit more transparency, as you say. But I want to ask you about your owner as well. I've kind of asked you about sort of like the way that stuff was done. Now, there's been a couple of points like on Twitter where Burnley fans, you might see a Burnley fan criticising the Forest owner, and think of what I don't think some Forest fans realise is Burnley already had a bit of history with him before he became sort of like owner at Forest. Obviously, we played Olympiacos in 2018, was it 2019? I can't remember. I actually went to it as well. 2018, and it was 1-1 at half time, and we'd had a penalty in the late towards the first half. Turns out that he'd stormed the referee's dressing room at half time, demanded better refereeing. The rumours are he was paid off. Just a rumour. Don't sue me, please, mate. Paid off referees, or just threatened referees. Shock horror. 10 minutes into second half, they get a dodgy penalty where you get a man sent off. So if you ever see like Turfcast or any Burnley fan going, "Oh, he's a bit of a dickhead," it's mainly to do with that. It's nothing to do with Forest. But I do like to ask your thoughts on him, because he can be quite eccentric. Like, he's probably done quite a lot for your club, so you probably do respect him and quite like him in that sense. Why wouldn't you? Of course, if he's done a lot for your club. But he is quite an eccentric character, is he? What are your thoughts on him? As an owner?
Yeah, I'd not heard of that incident that you mentioned, and I don't know enough about it to even comment, really, to be honest with you. But I think from a Forest fan perspective, the owner is massive for our success, because he invests the money. He brings in the staff. Do you know what I mean? And he has a lot of authority over what goes on. And I can't fault him, because he's invested 200 million, 250 million pound plus, and we're looking at potentially new facilities with the stadium and the new training ground if it goes ahead, and it really needs to, because we are a Premier League team now. So investing on the pitch is important, but off it is really important. So I respect him for investing his personal wealth into that. And it's nice to see someone have that passion for Forest. But at the same time, I think that there does have to be a kind of, again, I'm going to mention balance, because the football people need to be allowed to do the football. And for Forest, it's really important that we kind of bring in the right staff, bring in the right sporting directors, the right coaches. So I've just got to put my trust as a fan into him to do that and to allow them to do their work. So I think he's very ambitious. He knows where the club wants to go. And I think sometimes maybe the ambition and the kind of passion that he has for the football club kind of comes out. And that's what makes him a controversial character, because you're kind of seeing the Sky coverage of the Liverpool game where they said that he ran down the tunnel and shouted at the referee. Yeah. But then Sky went back the next day and it didn't happen. It didn't happen. It was at the game. He stood next to the pitch, frustrated, obviously. You can understand why. And he did shout something at the referee, but you can understand why. And for me, and I know your guys will have the different view on it because of their own experience, as you mentioned. But for me, someone who's passionate, who's investing the money, I just hope that, the football people and the coaches and stuff can just do their job. And there's like a good balance between ownership and management, because I think that sometimes, like Brian Clough used to say, the owner kind of invests your money, say thank you, and you kind of let the football people do it. So just got to make sure that, there's not too much involvement, because again, I don't know if he's got coaching badges or anything, but Nuno needs to do the business, and he can do the investing. So, but overall, I'm not against him being the owner of the club by any means.
Yeah, I mean, I apologise if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty certain he won't have his coaching badges, mate. But it's always interesting to sort of like see like such an eccentric character and stuff at the top of football, and I always do worry when there's somebody like an owner, wants to be at the front of everything, because I kind of feel like maybe he's doing it for his own selfish reasons. And I have not read the article, but I know he did a big article in the Daily Mail the other day. I think it was the Daily Mail. And I remember seeing at the time, like, why? Like, why are you doing this? Just just like you said, invest the money, say thanks, off your pot. But yeah, interesting. Good to get your thoughts on it. I just want to point everyone's attention to the bottom of the screen. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see the names of our YouTube channel members rolling across the bottom of the screen. Massive shout out to them. A big thank you to everybody who has invested in the YouTube channel. I really do appreciate it. YouTube channel members can get stuff such as early release of this show. There'll be more shows next season as well. And we are in the process of, hopefully, I say this probably every summer, doing some Turfcast merch and sort of like bringing the shop back that we had at the start. Remember when we used to sell them Burnley beer mats and stuff? I've actually got one over there. I'm not going to get it because I have to go off screen. But we brought a shop out for that, and the plan was to then expand the shop and stuff and do more. That never happened. So hopefully I will be able to give the YouTube channel members a discount at the shop and stuff like that. And a massive shout out to 3 new members that we've got in. I'll just have to quickly get rid of it so I can actually read them. 3 new members: Callum Woods, Lonside Longo, and Brian Snowden. Shout out to them. If you do want to join the YouTube channel and become a member and get stuff like early release of the pre-game show and more stuff, sort of like discount, and there's going to be some stuff behind sort of like a pay. Won't be many. All the shows that you've already got will still be free, but next season we're hoping to bring out more shows, and some of them will be on a release and may even be behind just for members only. But we'll see how that goes, and obviously we'll announce everything in due course. But massive shout out to everyone for doing that, and there's a link in the description if you want to join in. If you're watching this on a browser, there's also a button that says join next to the subscribe button, which you've obviously already pressed, so you can just show your support to the channel that way. Right then, Jamie, let's look more excuse me, more at the game this weekend rather than Nottingham Forest themselves. Are we expecting sort of like Forest to be relaxed? Do you think the play? I know you said yourself you've got that overriding anxiety a little bit, although you probably know that you probably are going to be in the Premier League next season. How do you think the players will feel? Do you think they're going to be relaxed, or do you think they're going to have a little bit of anxiety as well?
I think the players are going to be, up for it. I think it's going to be a normal game of football, really, in terms of, the mentality. And I'd like to say that Forest will just carry it on from the Chelsea game, and there'll be a couple of players that are wanting to, break some personal records for goals or assists or, for appearances. So I think they're all going to be up for it, and maybe a couple of the fringe lads might even get an opportunity to play a bit of football as well that haven't played much this season. So. Yeah, I think that they're definitely going to be up for it. I can't see them kind of fielding a lineup that's completely out of the ordinary. So yeah, I think they'll be going for the 3 points, if I'm totally honest, and not that they really deserve it based on how this season's been. But they're going to go for it and try and carry on the kind of decent performances and follow it up with a result. So it's going to be a difficult game, because when you play this at the City Ground, if it wasn't for Hudson-Odoi's absolute screamer, it would have been a win for you guys, and it could have been a very different position now looking back at it without that goal. But again, it's going to be a good game.
Yeah, that game at the City Ground, man. Yeah, obviously you've got that screamer, you've got that dodgy VAR decision. Like, we had so much hope back then, mate. I remember thinking, like, we've ran Forest ragged here and should have won if it wasn't for a dodgy referee and a screamer. We can actually do this. We can actually finish 14th, 13th, and look at us now, man. Like, the way you spoke about that game, then I remember thinking, I had hope then. So it seems like such a long time ago, but we did. And the same again, obviously, in the League Cup as well, getting past you in the League Cup as well. Obviously, the starting 11s looked a little bit different that game, admittedly. But yeah, we had so much hope back then, mate. And it's just a shame to see where the season's gone for our perspective. Injuries, suspensions, any big game players missing?
I can't think of any at the moment. I don't think there's any yellow card suspensions to note, to be honest. I think that Tara Wanyi is definitely back. He played last week. I can't really think of any major injury issues. Nuno Tavares hasn't been in for a while. But other than that, I think it'll probably be most are available unless there's been an injury in training or whatever, which I don't know yet. But I think it's going to be, full strength from at least our perspective and a decent bench. So I'm looking forward to it. I'll be honest. It's my first time at Turf Moor I'm going. So, it's going to be an interesting one.
Yeah, I think I first went to City Ground in about. I'm going to sound old now, mate. I think it was 2002. I remember because you were chanting "Small Town in Blackburn," and I was like, I remember saying to my dad, like, "Wait, do they think we're part of Blackburn or what?" Like, no, it's just this new football chant that's because it were like quite new back then. Like everyone does, it's everyone now. And I remember just turning around to you like, "Oh, Burnley fans chanting small town in Derby." And I'm like, "Where's Derby?" And my dad like, "It's near here." Obviously back then I was only 14, so I wouldn't have known. So yeah, hopefully you enjoy it, mate, but hopefully you don't enjoy it too much. Players that we should be looking out for, obviously apart from Hudson-Odoi, like who's your main threats in your eyes?
Threats in front of goal, obviously Gibbs White's really, good. If Chris Wood's fancying it,
yeah, I forgot about Wood.
you've got to remember we've got Chris Wood, by the way, who's 2 goals away from his best ever season of 14 goals while he was at Burnley. So if he's up for it, then Chris Wood's your main threat, to be honest. But good quality at the back as well, Willy Bolly and Murillo. So I'd like to say we've got a few threats in that team. So if they're all fit, it's going to be a good matchup.
I completely forgot about Chris Wood. I'm not going to lie. What are your thoughts on him then, mate? Because I liked him personally, but he got a lot of stick off Burnley fans because he's quite hot and cold. And I don't know if you've ever seen him. Like he will miss some sitters, and he's not the most technically gifted footballer in the world. Like he'll struggle to trap a bag of cement and that sort of stuff. But in front of goal, I remember like he's probably one of the best finishers we've had in the Premier League era at the Turf, probably up until the recent crop of players, actually, weirdly enough, even though they know they can't do anything else. If back 3-4 years ago, I used to say, if you want one player in front of goal in the 18-yard box, it's Chris Wood, because 9 times out of 10 he puts it away. I thought he got some unnecessary stick at Burnley, and then when he left, a few people gave him a bit of stick as well. But what's your thoughts on Woody and the Forest fans? How do you guys feel about him?
Well, we've had hot and cold, but when he joined, it was cold. It was freezing, to be honest. And then he got his injury, which took him out for the season. And then pre-season, he really leaned up. Put on a bit of muscle as well. And then, just kind of kicked on from there. Really good brace against Luton. And that kind of kicked it off and he started doing really well. But then after the Spurs game where he scored, he just became a little bit rubbish again. So I don't know. I think we've relied a lot on Chris Wood this season. And I know there's some Forest fans giving him stick saying we should sell him. But honestly, I put that down as being fickle. And if someone doesn't like me saying that, I really don't care, because at the end of the day, it's someone that's given us 12 goals that we need, 12 goals that have kept us in the division. And to be honest, we've relied on him so much with Awoniyi being unfit and there being no real substitute for him. Origi's been, so subpar. It's just not been possible to have someone else who's scoring the goals up front. So, Chris Wood's been really important for us. He's in a bit of bad form. But I'm just hoping tomorrow that he can maybe get a goal, or just anything, an assist, a goal, whatever, to kind of top off the season. Because overall, he's had a really good season. It's just a shame that it's kind of ended with a bit of a drought, to be honest.
Yeah, it's like I said, he always was hot and cold at Burnley. He'd have a flurry of like 3-4 goals and nothing for 6 months. He always feels like he's a confidence player. But I think it's a sign that, like you said, he used to get like 14, 11. He'd always get at least 10 goals every season for us. And we haven't had anyone come anywhere near that in the Premier League since. I think that tells you all you need to know. Predictions then, mate. What's your score prediction for Sunday's match?
I think there's a goal in it for you guys, but I'm going to go 2-1 Forest. I think that it's going to be. I think Chris Wood will get a goal. I'm going to be honest with you. I think Chris Wood will get a goal.
He'll be up for it. 100%. He'll be up for it.
Yeah, I feel like he's one of those players that just would love to score against his old club. Do you know what I mean? Every kind of club's got one of those players that just loves to score against him. Chris Commons for us. Chris Wood did it against Newcastle, got a hat-trick on Boxing Day, don't forget. Can he try and do the same thing against Burnley? I don't know. I'm hoping not for your sake, but at the same time, I'd love a win and just go home, to be honest, and finish the season. I'm tired.
Yeah, me as well. But it's interesting because, I think he'll be up for it. And I know when certain people who I do know that still speak to some of the ex-players and stuff, like your Tarkies and stuff, they always do say that they are up for these sort of games. So I can imagine that Chris Wood will be up for it as well. So, I mean, it's interesting. I wouldn't be that arsed if he scored because it's a dead rubber. But, We'll see. I think he'll do well in the air against our current defence. But just before I end it, I just want to remind everybody that this episode of Turfcast is supported by Uphold, Burnley's sleeve sponsor for the 23-24 season, who have unveiled something special, the limited edition Burnley FC Uphold credit card, and you can easily add funds to this card by unlocking its perks by spending home or away. The card lets you spend in any currency anywhere globally. It's accepted everywhere MasterCard is without foreign transaction fees and offers a competitive exchange rate. For added ease and security, you can pay with Apple or Google Play, and of course uphold values community demonstrated by their pledge to donate £5 to Burnley in the community with your first purchase using the cards. Secure your spot on the waiting list at www.uphold.com/BurnleyFC. And that's not a waiting list anymore. I've read that bit wrong because I'm using an old ad read. You could just go onto that bit and get the card. It's not a waiting list. My prediction, mate, 2-2. I think both teams will score. I think Woody probably gets a goal. Now I completely forgot about him. I think because he's good in the air. I'm going to say he will be good in the air. I know he's good in the air. And I think you can exploit that because that's one of our main weaknesses. But I just think with us, the pressure will be off. There'll be a few people playing their last ever Burnley game. I'm going to mention some names then, but I won't do. Some people who might be staying, but it's who I believe are staying. Actually, some people who are out of contract that I believe are staying. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see who we play. But I think we'll be relaxed. I think the pressure will be off, and I think we might actually be able to play the game that we've tried to play all season because there's no pressure on us. Similarly, like we did in this recent run, because obviously we looked dead and buried in. I think it was March when we lost against Bournemouth. We were miles away. I think at that point we were like 12 points adrift of you. And then the pressure was off and we just started playing really well. And that's where we went on this 8 games where we only lost 1 and think we drew like 4 and 1-2 or something. That maths is wrong, but something like that. And then all of a sudden we got ourselves back within a chance where if we'd have beat Newcastle the other week, it'd have been back in our own hands. And then we bottled it because the pressure was back on again. And I just think you'll see a Burnley side that will pressure off, will play quite well. But we'll be waving goodbye to some Burnley players as well. So I think hopefully everybody still goes and claps these lads off because they've been great servants to the club. But Jamie, thank you for joining me on Turfcast. You just want to plug your own podcast, let everyone know where they can find you and any Forest content if you want to digest it ahead of this weekend.
Yeah, it's a pleasure, by the way. Thank you for inviting me. It's Jamie Martin on Instagram, Jamie Martin _journalist on Instagram. And on YouTube, also Jamie Martin as well. So follow me there, subscribe as well. I really appreciate you inviting me on today. It's been a real pleasure.
Yeah, no, thanks for coming on, mate. There's a lad that always comments in the comments saying, good guest this week, Joe. I think he'll be saying the same thing for you, mate. I've enjoyed the chat. But I normally say good luck for the season. There's no point. Good luck on Saturday, but I also hope you lose. Good luck for next season. We won't be seeing each other unless we get each other in the cup, mate. But yeah, good luck for Forest, good luck for the podcast, and good luck for yourself, mate. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, mate. And good luck to you guys as well. And I'm sure you'll be back up very, very soon, and I can definitely see you going for a bit of silverware as well when you come back up.
Fingers crossed, mate. I like that. I do like that. Say he told you he's a good guest. Yeah, I don't want to go on record too much. I'm not really tweeting it, but I just can't see how we don't get promoted again, mate. I genuinely just can't see it. I just can't see it.
Don't call it now. Don't call it.
I've already called it. I called it on podcast the day after we got relegated. I'm like, we're obviously going to win the league again, and it's fine. But no, sorry, mate. I won't keep you too long. I appreciate you coming on. Thanks everyone for watching. Thanks everyone for listening. We will be doing a full-time show. Some of the lads in the WhatsApp group have already said, is there any points? So we'll see how many people actually turn up. It might just be me, but I promise you there will be a full-time show on. Maybe Sunday night, maybe Monday evening. We'll see. I'll announce it on to Twitter like I always do. Thanks everyone for watching. Thanks everyone for listening, and we'll see you next time.